if you're not speaking. And also just remember that it is a public meeting. There are folks potentially still watching on the streamed version of the meeting, even though it's just us here on the screen today. Obviously, if technology doesn't work and you get cut off, try and join back in. And with that, I think we will get going, unless there's anything that anybody wants to do there. We'll ask for approval of the agenda. Councillor Pierce, moved by Councillor Pierce, seconded by Mayor Bailey, and all those in favor? Carried, thank you. Now's the time that we do the declaration of pecuniary interests. Any to note today? Seeing none, thank you. We don't have any delegations or presentations today that I'm aware of. And we have our minutes from our January meeting to now review and approve. I'm assuming everybody's looked at those in the package that Nancy has sent out and has reviewed them. And if so, we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Member Brown, and seconded by Member Verhey. Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. I have a few items for business arising from the minutes, but I'll ask first for everybody else. Any business arising from the minutes? Mayor Bailey? Oh, you'll need to unmute yourself, Mayor Bailey.
I missed my chance to add something for other business. Can I still do it?
Sure.
Just put down mental health. Thank you.
Everybody got that done under other business? Okay. Just a couple of follow-up items I just thought I'd ask on the business arising from the minutes is wondering, Inspector Anderson, or I'm not sure, Robin's on the line, did we resolve the ESO Kingsville office location?
Madam Chair, I'll turn that over to Robin Hewitt. I think her and Acting Staff Sergeant Hampson have had some conversations.
For you, Madam Chair, yes, we don't have a final decision yet, but we're still working on it.
And just to note, there's nothing additional from the towing update. Adam has been keeping Jim and I apprised of his outreach to the towing group with respect to the data and the reports and checking in on their progress, but there's nothing to report today. There's been nothing received by Adam to this point from, if you remember, going back to our November meetings. So we haven't received anything to this point. I believe now that we are in Orange and able to do some function of things again, whether indoors or outdoors. I know they had some challenges trying to organize an annual meeting, in-person annual meeting. They weren't keen on the technology. So I think now that we have that open today, we'll see where they go with that. They need to make some progress on that on their end, on their side. So just wanted to give you that update that Adam has been trying to get the updates. Anything else from, oh, sorry, go ahead, Councillor Pierce.
Thanks, Madam Chair, through you. Yeah, a couple things here. You kind of touched on one of them. First of all, my apologies for not making the last meeting. There's been a few exciting things come out at that meeting. Number one of the questions I was going to ask was about the towing. Was there any indication when these reports will be done? And you kind of alluded to the fact that we are going into Orange now. Might I suggest that we actually reach out to them and remind them, hey, we are in Orange now, so you can get together and get this done? That was the one thing. The other thing, I know it's all common knowledge now, but I just wanted to say congrats to Marty for his being appointed to Zone 4 chair. I missed that at the last meeting, so thank you for wanting to get involved with that, and congratulations on being appointed with that. Another thing on the last page, the update to the Community Safety Wellbeing Plan. There was a meeting scheduled for January 21st. I was just wondering, did that meeting happen and how it come out of there? And the last thing, as far as the OPP website, that's fantastic news. I took a quick peruse around it, and there's a lot of good information in there. And I'm just wondering, is there any indication of how many hits the site has had to this point?
So we'll start with the last first, the OPP website. I'm not sure if you're going to touch on that, Inspector Anderson, or if that's even if we've got some preliminary information on traffic to the site at this point.
I actually didn't have that in my report, so I'm glad Councillor Pierce brought that up. I'm not sure what Melissa Connor in Communications is planning on that, but I can certainly touch base with them. We're still working on it. So I can touch base and see if we can get some hit counts like she does for our emergency management control board, our control group as well.
Excellent. Looks good.
Circling back, there'll be a community safety and wellbeing planning update on the agenda here, Councillor Pierce, if that's okay.
Yep.
And if Vice Chair Brown and I will circle back with Adam so that we can reach out and remind them, to your point about the timelines and the fact that we're in orange now, so that hopefully they can get some of that done.
Yeah, because as I say, I understand it's been crazy times and stuff, but it's time for some action on their behalf, and I'll leave it at that.
I think we all agree on that. Inspector Anderson, did you have?
I just, Madam Chair, I just had two things that from the our last minutes, the year-end motor vehicle collision review that we talked about last. So I've asked Nancy Davis to add it to our next agenda. Our regional operational analyst has finished that review, and I do have some information on my report today, but I just wanted to bring that forward. So I'll be doing more of a presentation at our next meeting if that suits everyone. And an update on the OPP action plan, because we did talk about it in the last meeting. I've been given a date of March that should be made as a public document. So that's the latest update that I have on that action plan. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Inspector Anderson. We'll look forward to hearing more on that release date. And Nancy's obviously she'll schedule that for the agenda for the report that you'll be able to give us. Anything else from business arising from the minutes? Seeing none. And I know there's lots going on. There's lots of little moving parts, and there's lots of but lots of issues that we're all trying to manage and deal with. So, so if that's the case, hopefully we'll have some progress on the Canesville office. I know that's important to the detachment members. I know that Robin and Andrew will work to get that resolved, and then Member Brown and I will reach out with Adam to the towing group. And if there's any feedback on the OPP website, let's be sure to hand that over to Inspector Anderson as well as you peruse through that. It's a great communication tool. So without further ado, we'll turn it over to Inspector Anderson to review her detachment commander's report, please.
So yeah, good morning to everybody again. I'll just start with the human resource updates that we have. I just made an announcement in here. Chief Superintendent John Kane retired as the commander of West Region OPP in January. He retired after a little over 40 years of policing in Ontario. And of course, Chief Kane is very well known to the County of Brant, as he was the last chief of Paris PD as well. So I just bring that up to wish him the best in his retirement, and as well to thank him for everything he's done for West Region as well. And on that note, we also welcome Acting Chief Superintendent Terry Hamilton. He will be the new interim commander for West Region OPP. We also, not in January, but actually the beginning of February, we received 4 new recruits that arrived at the detachment. All have been assigned full-time coach officers, and they're out in the community now in full frontline duties with their coach officers at this point. We have another 3 recruits coming that are currently in school. I anticipate, I believe it's April, May-ish that they'll be arriving at the detachment. Also in here, just to let the board know, we have a current expression of interest out. That's a competition to fill the roles of community services media officer, community mobilization officer, and our school resource youth officer. These positions are rotational within our detachment, and they're roles, they're not positions. So they're normally positions that rotate every 2 to 4 years, and for a number of different reasons, but to always have our members return to grassroots frontline policing, and as well to offer developmental opportunities for a number of different people at the detachment. So we're hoping to be able to announce at the end of this week who those new members will be in those roles. And they'll be in those positions for 2 to 4 years. And also on that note, to thank Constable Jerusha Woodley and Constable Ken Johnston for fulfilling these positions over the last several number of years. They've done a great job promoting the OPP in the community in the County of Brant. So we appreciate that. And these teams this year, we've had 2 people traditionally doing these roles in the detachment. In support of our 2020 to 22 action plan goals, we'll be expanding that to a 3-member team, and we will be referring to it as the community safety and well-being team at the detachment. And they'll be dedicated to the action plan items that we spoke about over a year ago in relation to mental health, youth, seniors, and family. We also look forward to announcing the new police service, the next police service board meeting, the new County of Brant traffic initiative, which is also one of the other priorities that we had in our action plan of traffic safety. And there will be a presentation. I've asked Nancy Davis to add that to the agenda for our next PSB meeting as well. In relation to media, we had 24 media releases to the Opp News Portal in January and 10 Twitter posts. Of those 10 Twitter posts, we had over 2,200 views and over 750 likes. The most frequently liked and watched was the half-mast flag, lowering of the flags that we had to honor the fallen Calgary Police Services, or Calgary Police Service officer, and also the 11th of January Twitter post that we had in relation to the cardboard plate incident that we had in the County of Brant. Moving on to focus patrols. In January, we had 1 traffic focus patrol that was running, and that was in relation to William and Willow Streets. The focus patrol was initiated due to community traffic safety concerns, and those concerns were supported by the Brant Safe Streets program and the data collected. The focus patrol started on January 13th, and it just closed yesterday. We announced the closing of that. And to the date of preparing this report of last week, we had 59 hours dedicated, 22 different officers, 35 charges were laid, including stunt drive, and we did have some criminal charges laid as a result of that focus patrol as well. And 8 warnings were issued. As I mentioned in the follow-up from our meeting minutes, our regional operational analyst has completed her annual report on motor vehicle collisions in the county. So I'll be presenting that at our next meeting, as well as announcing new traffic focus patrols that will be running in the county for the remainder of the year based on those analytics. In relation to noteworthy items, COVID-19 update, we haven't received any further update in relation to the lifting of restrictions for our detachment. I do anticipate that we'll be getting those today, if not very early in the week, in relation to what's going to be happening with our front doors as we move out of lockdown. So as of today, we are still under the same conditions as we had during the lockdown period, where our front doors are closed and people need to make an appointment to come to the detachment. So as soon as that changes, I'll make sure to put out a social media information, and as well forward the information to the board members as well. To date, the OPP, we've responded to 264 occurrences related to the Emergency Management Civil Protection Act, the Reopening Act and Quarantine Act, and just basic COVID-19 complaints and bylaws. And only 13 of those were in January. In relation to noteworthy items, we are currently working with the Brant County Health Unit to coordinate vaccinations for frontline emergency workers in the county. We will be included in that group. So again, very appreciative of the working relationship that we've had with both BCHS and BCHU during the pandemic. They've been incredibly supportive of all of our folks here and kept a lot of our operations running with different things that we had ongoing. Their assistance is much appreciated. We're also engaged with Brant County Health Unit and other stakeholders right now in planning for future vaccination sites in the county. So the board can be reassured that we are giving input in relation to those sites as well. In relation to Crime Stoppers, our Crime Stoppers Memorandum of Understanding between the Crime Stoppers group, Brantford Police, and ourselves was to end at the end of March. We were able to get all those folks together and discuss the extension of that MOU. So I'm glad to say that we will be signing that same MOU that we have right now for an additional 2 years. And Brantford Police currently is the coordinator for those services in that program. They will be continuing into the first year of our new contract, which would be from April 1st of this year to March 31st of next. At that point in time, we'll assume the coordinator roles back from Brantford City Police for that last year of the contract. And in conversations that we had, most likely for the first year of the following contract. There's a lot of logistics behind the scenes in transitioning that program between coordinators. Between locations, I should say. So we're going to try to do it a 2-year on, 2-year off agreement with Brantford City Police. In relation to an upcoming OPP project, our officers are all receiving training right now in relation to the OPP's new e-ticketing program. What this is a program that's launched that allows everything to be done in relation to provincial offense notices with electronic submission directly to the courts. And there'll also be printouts and things that officers can do directly from the cruisers. So ticketing will look much different. The other benefits of this, there'll also be upon a vehicle stop, the direction to our officers will be, there will either be a hard copy ticket issued or a hard copy warning. And all of those interactions will be documented on our police database so that we will be able to track people that are constantly stopped by our vehicles throughout the province, by our members throughout the province, to be able to deter certain driving behaviors as well. This platform will also enable us to track and do heat maps for where our enforcement is being focused in the county, with the goal of obviously trying to have the highest enforcement in our highest traffic safety areas within the county. In relation to an update on our community street crimes unit, our community street crimes unit was very busy through January and early February. They executed 2 very significant warrants in the county. One was on January 14th. Members of our community street crime executed a warrant at a Colburn Street East address in Cairnsville. We took 3 individuals into custody and recovered quantities of cocaine, cannabis, oxycodone, and methamphetamine for a total of over $80,000 in street value. And 3 people were charged with 17 criminal drug and weapons charges as a result of that. And then on February 2nd, our Community Street Crimes Unit executed another warrant. And this was with the assistance of both Toronto Police Service, West Region Organized Crime Bureau, Tactics and Rescue Unit, Canine Services, and our emergency response team members. And this was at an address in Highway 54 in County of Brant. At that location, we took 4 individuals into custody. and recovered 9 kilograms of suspected methamphetamine. As a result, we've charged 3 people, all from the County of Brant, with possession for the purpose of trafficking methamphetamine. And of note, this is the largest seizure of methamphetamine to date in the County of Brant. It's a very significant and a very large seizure. In relation to investigations, I'm not going to go over all of them there, but to give you an idea how busy we were on a number of different fronts in relation to January. To sum it up there, you'll see a number of proactive traffic stops resulting in officers looking beyond the plate. We have a number of impaired driving, stolen vehicles, disqualified driving, outstanding arrest warrants, failing to comply with release conditions, several controlled drugs and substances seizures, contraband tobacco seizure, and firearms weapons charges resulting from proactive traffic stops we've had in the county in January. Also, what we normally see on here is a high number as well of stunt driving, which is 50 kilometers or more over the speed limit, and people driving under suspension. So it was a very active, proactive January for us there. I'm just scrolling down. I'm trying to do this electronically. Also, to highlight, on the 5th of January, members of the Brant County Crime Unit conducted an extensive barn fire arson investigation, and this dated back to January 2021. As a result of that almost year-long investigation, 2 males were charged with a total of 10 charges related to that arson. For trends and actions for January, and just for the sake of us being on YouTube here, I'll just highlight some of what I have here. Violent crime increased in January by 100% compared to January 2021. We saw 14 violent crime incidents reported this January compared to 7 last January. However, when we compare our 2021 stats to January 2019, there were actually 12% fewer violent crime incidents. So the information isn't necessarily concerning for us at this point. And just of note, as we go into 2021, understanding that a lot of our comparison is to the year previous, I think we can all note that January, or the year of 2020, was a bit of a statistical anomaly in relation to our stats due to COVID. So you'll note on the report, I've asked our operational analysts to include the 2019 statistics for the board and the public as well, so that we have some comparison value other than the anomaly year of 2020, which should help everyone there. In relation to property crime, we're still continuing to see a decrease as we move into 2021. However, we did see a spike in theft over $5,000 incidents in January, and this would be due to a string of trailer thefts that have been occurring in our area, as well as neighboring jurisdictions. There's been a joint investigation ongoing by different detachments and municipal police services in relation to this, and an arrest has been made, so we do anticipate that these incidents will decline in February. Break and enter incidents are also down significantly this year as opposed to last. We've seen a 63% decrease. And again, we can compare that to when we had the lockdown last year. We saw the same trend because obviously people are at home more, which makes the opportunity for breaking into homes and businesses less. We continue to see a reduction in collision volumes in the county. We saw collisions collision reductions throughout 2020, and that's continuing into 2021. We've seen a 13% overall reduction in January this year compared to January 2020. However, despite these reductions in overall volume, we did respond to 1 fatal injury collision in January. In relation to mental health, and I know Mayor Bailey's added this topic to the agenda, we saw 183% spike in our level 1 mental health incidents in January of this year versus last. This is a concerning spike as level 1 incidents are a primary response for mental health crisis, as opposed to all level incidents, which are any incident we respond to that may have mental health as a component. And those are up 73% in the county. And we continue to see the same increase we saw in 2020 in relation to domestic incidents that we're responding to. And I think you'll see this in a lot of other municipalities and jurisdictions other than ours. It seems to be a common trend. In January, we saw a 67% increase in our domestic incidents as compared to January last year. And this is in addition to the 13% overall increase we saw in 2020 and a 25% increase that we saw in 2019. From January 1st to November 30th, so if you look at our charge statistics there, just a reminder that those are not for January, those are to the end of November due to the delay that we have in accuracy in reporting. So from January 1st to November 30th, 2020, our Brant County members issued just under 4,000 total charges in the county. And just under 2,500 are Highway Traffic Act, 1,046 are Criminal Code, and 390 are other, such as liquor license, trespass to property, Ontario Cannabis Act, things of that nature. Of the 2,463 Highway Traffic Act charges laid in the county so far, 1,559 of them are Big Four related, and just over 1,400 are charges for speeding. And this represents a 10% increase in the number of speeding charges compared to last year for the county. Also of note, we continue to see an increase in the number of criminal code non-traffic offenses in the county to the end of November. And there was a 3% increase year to date to the end of November for us in the county. In contrast, the month of November represented the greatest decrease in criminal non-traffic charges to date, while our criminal code traffic charges saw a 300% increase in November. In relation to patrol hours in January of this year, Brant County members completed 669 cruiser patrol hours and 67 foot patrol hours. Foot patrol hours were down 46% in January due to directed patrols dedicated to the ongoing trailer thefts in the county and the focused traffic patrol on William and Willow Streets. Zone patrol hours were down 23% in January due to the number of vacancies we were carrying compared to the previous year. So if you remember, we just had 4 recruits just arrive and we have 3 more coming in that April or May class. And just a reminder for those zone patrol hours with the new recruits getting here, they're doubled up with an officer for a significant period of time, both on day shift and night shift. So we won't see an increase in them being actually boots on ground for about, I'm looking at Staff Sergeant Hampson here, I'd say for at least 4 to 5 months. And then we'll start seeing those zone hours and increase due to having more resources in the front line. And pending any other any questions, that's the end of my report.
Any questions for Inspector Anderson? Councillor Pierce. You can always count on Councillor Pierce.
Sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you. She's touched on a couple of the points that I had questions on, so thank you very much for that. As always, a great report. Just a couple of things I want to key in on. On page, I guess it's page 5 of your report when it talks about focus patrols. You stated there that you did the focus patrol on William Street and that sort of thing, and there was 59 hours and 35 charges laid and 8 warnings issued. I want to talk a little bit about the warnings, if I could, and I totally understand it's at the discretion of the officer whether it's a warning or a charge or depending on the circumstance, and I understand that. Where I'm trying to go with this on a normal, we'll call it a normal day where an officer would make a stop and maybe give somebody a warning or give somebody a charge. That's one thing. When we're doing a focus patrol, I'm just wondering, has there been any thought around the mindset of, this is a focus patrol. We're doing this for a reason. Let's for lack of better words, if there's an offense, charge everybody. There's no warnings. Everybody that gets stopped within that focus patrol that has an infraction, we'll call it that way, to lay a charge. Because the way I look at it is, we can warn people, which, don't get me wrong, in certain circumstances, I understand that, but I'm just wondering, are the warnings working? If we're talking a focus patrol, has there been any thought of, we're doing this focus patrol, any infractions are a charge? I'll start with that one.
So 2 points I'd like to say on that one. Sorry, through you, Madam Chair, as well. Discretion will always be there for officers, whoever is making that interaction. That discretion will never be stripped of our members by the organization or by myself. In relation to warnings, I think what we have to keep in mind is that the warnings don't equate to vehicle stops. So it could be somebody is charged because we're there for speeding. So it could be you've charged somebody for speeding and they get a warning for not signing their ownership or for having a plate that might be dirty. So it's not necessarily that the purpose that we're there doing that focus patrol isn't being treated as a zero tolerance. Our officers are just recording the warnings for any infractions that they have interactions with people during that focus patrol. So I would just ask you to keep in mind that doesn't mean that somebody was stopped for speeding and got a warning where somebody else was stopped and got a ticket. It depends on what else other than that primary reason for the stop are they receiving a warning for, and that might address a bit of your concerns with that.
Okay, I appreciate that clarification. That when you word it like that, it makes sense. So I appreciate that. If we can move on to page 7, you were talking about the upcoming OPP project with the e-ticketing. I think this is fantastic. I think it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for the officers, but I think once it's used for a while, it's going to, as you say, it's going to be able to trend back to the warning thing. If somebody, somebody's, in Canesville and gets a warning, and all of a sudden they're in St. George and get another warning, and Paris and get another warning, there's no way at this point in time really for the officers to know that between them. And I think this is going to be fantastic once it's up and running. So I look forward to hearing more on that. And not necessarily a response required for that, but I just think that's great news. And then I just want to touch on the with the new recruits, and it says, the 4 recruits that arrived, and we're expecting 3 more in February. I appreciate the clarification on that, because the way I kind of took that was the fact that that they would be with that matched up for about a year. So I was thinking, are we saying that it's going to be a year before we see the increase in the foot patrol and the extra patrol? But you've kind of clarified that down to 4 or 5 months. So I appreciate that. I think overall that's all I had on the report. Again, thank you for that. There's a lot of good information, and you answered all the other questions I had as you went through. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions or comments for Inspector Anderson? Member Brown?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Inspector Anderson. Last meeting, I had asked if it would be possible to see if there's any correlation between the focus patrols and the traffic accidents. I take it from your previous comments that we are going to have a more in-depth report coming next meeting. Would that be included in that?
Through you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I want to also make sure, though, Member Brown, that I'm capturing what your question was with that. We do an intersection. I think you were talking about high collision intersections, or was I wrong on that?
No, I was looking for any correlation between the decrease in accidents, specifically the personal injury accidents, and the focus patrols that have been done. I guess it's a way of using the data just to justify how successful they have or have not been.
So yeah, when I do the presentation next week, part of that is not just the focus patrols for last year, but showing the impact of having traffic focus patrols in the years that we've had them versus the years that we haven't. And it's very clear the end result of the impact of those focus patrols with fatal and personal injury collisions versus not having those focus patrols. So that'll be a part of the presentation next month.
Thank you very much. Look forward to it.
Anything else, Member Brown? You good? Just a couple of follow-ups, Inspector Anderson. Wondering about, this is just maybe, I don't know if this is for Robin or for Inspector Anderson or for whomever, and it's just a side note because I happen to see police checks are still being, people who need police checks for employment with the County of Brant are being directed to the Mechanic Street address. So just somebody needs to let Lori Whale know to update the information that new employees are receiving to go to the new detachment and not to the old address. Not everybody may be aware that the detachment isn't no longer in downtown Paris. So if someone could pass that on to Lori, that would be great. Robin, will that?
So I'll pass that on to Lori.
Great, thanks. I just happened to notice that and I thought I'd pass that along because I wouldn't want anybody to get confused. The news portal, Inspector Anderson, I know that's obviously for media with credentials, but is there an opportunity for police service board members who may want to sign up? Is that an opportunity that we may be able to just stay current of what's being put out? Or because that seems to be different than sometimes what's being shared on social media as well. And just wondering if that's an opportunity for those that might want it or not.
Yeah, to clarify, the OPP News Portal is just for media credentials and is through our general headquarters approval. However, what we are working with is through the county and our new OPP website of any press releases that we do, as long as they aren't naming charged individuals, will be put up on our county website.
Okay.
So we're looking at trying to make those more accessible through that county website. They won't be all, but a significant number of them will be up there.
Just another quick comment, I guess. Well, first, January seems to have been a very busy month for the detachment members by the looks of all of the things that you've reported on, and some pretty serious and complicated things, not just run-of-the-mill, well, nothing that ever is the run-of-the-mill. I'm losing my track of my mind. My brain is not functioning properly, obviously, but Highway 24, are we seeing similar? We talked earlier about COVID and the stay-at-home orders back in the spring and people speeding and wanting to go faster with less traffic on the road, and Highway 24 has its issues. Are we seeing any changes with what you folks are doing with Highway 24, or is it still similar type of statistics in speed and in what's happening?
In relation to Highway 24, even though we don't have a traffic focus patrol, it's always a primary area of enforcement for our members and continues to be. You've probably seen some of the media releases in the Brantford Expositor, as well as continued stunt driving charges and things on Highway 24. We had a road rage incident on Highway 24. I think I reported on the last PSB meeting. So we still spend a significant amount of time there, even though we don't have traffic focus patrols. I'd have to ask Acting Staff Sergeant Hampson in relation to traffic volumes or anything that we're seeing out there, but I know we're also getting updates from the Ministry of Transportation on the improvements that they've done at German School Road and Highway 24, such as oversigned signage. They're planning on in the spring putting up look twice, save a life signs on there in relation to the motorcycle and the visibility. If they haven't, they also had the plans of moving the guardrail back there as well to improve visibility when you are coming westbound, approaching Highway 24 for the northbound traffic coming up. They've also cut down some shrubbery that's on the northeast intersection there. So there's been a lot of work still going on there, and I still do get contact from the Ministry of Transportation. It's not only your mind that's not working as quickly as usual either, Madam Chair, it's mine as well. But we still have continued contact with MTO in relation to that intersection and other things ongoing on Highway 24, both north and south. So I'm hoping that addresses part of your question there, and I can put it over to Acting Staff Sergeant Hampson there for his input on traffic volume.
No, I haven't seen any change really.
Okay. I don't know if you heard that or not, but he's, because of the echoing, we're just trying to run one laptop here. He says he hasn't noticed any change, significant change with the traffic volume due to the lockdown or anything out there.
Thanks. Highway 24 definitely continues to be a challenge for residents in this part of the county in terms of the speeding and the accidents, and it's good to see that there's stuff still happening, and there always will be stuff still happening there. Lastly, I think I understood you say that PC Johnson and PC Woodley would go back to other duties. They wouldn't be. Are they? The intent of those positions is that they're not to stay in those positions. They go back to other duties. So there's potential that there'll be 3 new folks in those roles.
Yeah, so they're considered rotational assignments within the OPP. So it's not a position, it's a role. So it's a frontline position, but they perform different roles at the detachment, and those roles are meant to be rotational, so that it's anywhere from 2 to 4 years that somebody remains in those roles, and then it's transitioned to other people. So yes, you will see an announcement that there will be 3 new people that will be fulfilling those roles moving forward.
I guess just on behalf of the Police Service Board, extend our thanks to both PC Johnson and PC Woodley for the good work that they do in the community. I mean, all of our detachment members do, but in their role specifically, they're key communicators, so we appreciate their efforts.
Thank you. They'd appreciate those comments too, so thank you.
Any other questions for Inspector Anderson or comments? Okay, thank you very much, Inspector Anderson. In our package, we also have the false alarms summary for January. On page, well, it's the last page of your package, 31. It's just 2021, so there's no comparison in there to be able to know how the numbers that Inspector Anderson relates to in terms of the triage calls versus the work that the new warning system is in place. But we can always refer back to previous reports, but that's there for our information. And so at this time, unless there's any other comments or discussion that needs to take place, and seeing none, we're looking for a motion to receive both the detachment commander's report for January 2020 and the false alarms report. Moved by Mayor Bailey, seconded by Member Brown. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have no communications, Nancy, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Other business, Mayor Bailey, you asked for the mental health agenda item.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. I hope Councillor Pierce, you wrote down those the numbers on mental health when they were being thrown out, the percentages, and who put them out there? Was it Inspector Anderson? Did you have the numbers for the mental health issues and the percentage of on the rise, and or was it Jennifer who put them out?
They're in the package.
They're in the package. Okay.
Yeah.
As long as you have those in front of you, Councillor Pierce, when we get to council on council night, because I am part of the delegation that's going to be coming forth, and I'm going to need you to speak on behalf of the Police Services Board as to what's been brought forward to hear, if you could.
Absolutely.
I've been asked to join a panel of, first of all, mental health is really in bad shape right now. The kids are having a hard, everyone's having a hard time. It's not just the kids, but the kids are the ones that are it's obvious that we need to help them. So Brant County, Oxford, Haldeman, Norfolk have gotten together with people I'm the only elected official on the board. They've asked me to join, and I'm with people like Rosewood House and just all different social groups that do this for a living, and they're having trouble, and they're worried about running programs. It's the first time they've ever had to do this, because it's the first time we've ever had a pandemic that affected so many so quickly over a period of 1 year. The long and short of it is they're looking for money. And I'm not asking the Police Services Board for money right now, because we have gone to the Brant Community Foundation, who has given them some money. I am coming forward with an emergency grant to council at the next council meeting for $5,000 for mental health treatment immediately as an emergency grant. If for whatever reason the Brant County Council does not agree with me and does not think that this is an absolute necessary time to promote and finance any programming that might be required for mental health for our youth and our young citizens of the County of Brant, Haldeman, Norfolk, I might be coming back to the Police Services Board to see if you can find me $500 for that very reason. I'm not asking for it now. I'm trying to get a couple of things in my back pocket in case I'm denied at council. So maybe the Police Services Board could think about that. I don't know what you have in emergency funding, Lisa. I don't know what you have there, if anything, but just $500, anything that could help the program, because I'm going to make sure the program does happen. I just have to get more creative in my funding if I can't get it from my council. I'm not expecting a great kickback from the council. I'm not expecting a problem, but sometimes, you know, when you only get one vote, you have to be aware of anything could happen. So I'm just bringing this for you for a little bit of thought, because if I come back to you people, it would be quickly and probably in some sort of an emergency meeting that I would ask Jennifer Haley to hold immediately to see if we can find some funding. So just a bit of a heads up on what could be coming up. Hopefully not coming up. Hopefully you never hear about it again, but you might. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Inspector Anderson?
Yeah, just to add on there. So we do currently have that community safety and policing grant specifically in relation to mental health in the county. And I know because of the shutdown that we had with COVID for a period of time where our MCERT weren't in the front line with us, there certainly is the possibility there of some grant money as well, Mayor. So it might be of an advantage for one of the county staff perhaps to have a conversation. We can go over those grant funds and see where they sit. I know with the ministry, we can ask for permission to change budget line items that may be able to support that, but that our grant money would fit into that purpose. And just along those same lines, we have with that grant, through permanent funding through the LIN, we have one full-time MCERT member who also performs functions of COAST in the county. With that grant, we asked to be able to hire another one. So right now we have two MCERT COAST members within the county. We've also worked with St. Leonard's in trying to get that walk-in that we had at the location within Paris. And we've talked about on many different occasions the statistics that we have about 40% of our level 1 mental health crisis calls are people under the age of 25, and some concerningly younger ages that we're seeing right now. So we'd be a willing stakeholder in anything that we can do in relation to those grant funds. So that option's there for you as well.
Through the chair, again, thanks, Lisa, for that. That makes me feel a little bit better. But I really don't think council's going to have a problem with it. But you never know. Some people are grumpy. I don't know.
Are those funds a use it or lose it kind of situation? Like, would it be advantageous for us meaning whoever, Mayor Bailey's initiative or other initiatives, to allocate to some mental health resources? Or like, when you go to reapply for that again, will they look at your performance of what you used to determine future funding?
I don't think it's going to ever be needed quite as badly and as quickly as it is this year. This year is a big follow-up from 2020. These are things that probably won't happen again to this extent for a very long time. Don't forget these 24 organizations that have asked me to join their group, and that's how many there are. They're usually in pretty good position with their own funding and their own opportunities to handle their caseloads. This has been just a very, very unsettling when I hear the stories, and they come to me every day. When you hear what's going on and just the subtle, even when people go quiet, you know, that's considered mental health if it's not in the realm of their regular character, and quiet people and quiet seniors and all kinds of people that lived regular lives, and then just any real severe change to their everyday thinking and their everyday sort of thought process, and it's just all considered mental health because something has changed it. So I'm thinking this is a one-time ask, and the only reason I'm a little bit nervous about the county ask is because they've asked me to join on behalf of Brant County, Haldimand, and Norfolk, and I don't want our county councillors to think that there's not enough of the money remaining in Brant, because it's like a lot of other things that we share with our partners and our regional partners. It doesn't really matter who pays for it at the end of the day. The kids get help, the teenagers get help, and maybe next time Norfolk will have a little bit more money freed up and they can pay for a bigger percentage of it. So this is a really quick ask, and I think it was very good, Inspector Anderson, that you spoke up and left that available. So I think they can handle themselves, Madam Chair, most years. This is just sort of snowballing quickly on us. And I just want to be able to say that the money's there, the programming can begin, and the counselors can be paid for, the programs can run. So that's my only concern. I don't want this thing to fail at our next council meeting, that's all. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I guess it was a maybe more of a two-parter, and maybe I'll ask Inspector Anderson, is it a use it or lose it kind of situation with the funding that you do have for the coast and MSTER, and that will that affect future funding?
So answering that question very bluntly, it is kind of a use it or lose it from year to year. However, there is an option within that funding year to request change in budgetary line items. So we do have that flexibility if the ministry wishes to assist us with that or approve that. But from year to year, if we don't use the money in that funding year, it doesn't get put forward. It's not cumulative, no.
Hopefully they won't hold the COVID restrictions against us or you when you go to reapply for those much needed funds.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd like to add to Mayor Bailey's comments too, with the fact of council perhaps being a bit apprehensive that the money is not coming directly back to the county. Understand that a lot of our mental health support services, and I don't want to speak for them, but are doing a lot of things remotely. So it's not necessarily that somebody from Brant County is walking into an office within Brant County. It could be just if we increase the accessibility of anything online that our community members can access. It doesn't matter where that service is out of, it's the fact that that person has access to what they need for mental health support. So I just would urge people to not think of it as a physically walking into an office, as opposed to breaking down those geography boundaries and just getting people the help that they need remotely.
Bailey.
Through you, Madam Chair, thank you, Lisa, for saying that. I should have remembered to say that. So thank you for clarifying that.
Well, good luck with your conversations and discussions with Council Mayor Bailey. It's an important issue. Obviously, the statistics speak for themselves. Any other discussion on that topic? Okay, let's move into the section 10, the updates. Councillor Pierce, anything from council that you want to share in our two-way communications?
Certainly. Just a couple things on behalf of council and on behalf of all the citizens of the County of Brant. I thank the OPP for their involvement in the two major warrants that were executed in our county. It's getting a lot of illegal drugs and stuff off our streets. So we thank you very much for looking after us and participating in that to do what we can against the life of drugs. So thank you for that. The other thing I wanted to touch on, and I'm sure Inspector Anderson, you understand how happy we are as council with the new traffic unit that's going to be up and coming and that sort of thing. That's just very exciting news right across the board, and I think it's gonna be fantastic. What I would like, and if you're up with it or if you're up to it, I'm wondering about some sort of meet and greet with these new officers when they join in to just have a little chat with council, or just introduce themselves to us and us to them, to kind of just just a quick coffee chat or something like that, just to bounce ideas off, to see what their ideas are, to kind of relay some of our ideas. Not sure if anything like that had been thought of, but I think just an initial, let's a break the ice meet and greet, I think if you're up to it, would be a great idea.
Yeah, I've also asked Nancy Davis to add that as an agenda item on our next PSB meeting, just in relation to, there's been a lot of conversation with the committee that we had struck about the enhancement committee and how we will be measuring the success of that unit. Mm-hmm. So there may be some information coming forward in relation to that, and they will be rotational positions, so it won't, for the duration, be the same officer that'll be in that position. There will be different people cycling through those positions through rotational assignments as well.
Okay, thank you. Exciting news. And that's all I have from council to PSB. Is there anything from PSB to take back to council? With that, I thank you.
All right. Well, I think you're on top for the mental health support statistics. Should Mayor Bailey need that at next council meeting?
Yeah, I've got that info, and we got 2 votes at least, Mayor, so we're all good.
Zone 4 OAPSB, I believe, Marty, your first meeting officially is coming up tomorrow, maybe. Yeah, any updates from Zone 4?
Yes, tomorrow at 9 o'clock, we're having our first meeting. It'll be our first remote meeting ever, because we basically just didn't have meetings during the whole lockdown. So we met last February in person, and since then it's been pretty quiet. So new board, some new structure, and we have a new secretary treasurer, which is great. She seems to be like Debbie, which is amazing. She's very, very on everything and well organized. So yeah, we're planning that discussion, a little planning meeting this afternoon, and then officially first meeting tomorrow. I did have one question just to float by the PSB, just to get your thoughts on it, because I think tomorrow we're going to be making a decision. And it's nothing major, but up until now, the zone collects membership dues every year, and it's $10 per PSB, Police Service Board member. And basically that was implemented to help cover the costs for the zone meetings for the region that was hosting, or for the municipality that was hosting. So there were some pretty small zone member that needed some funds to pay for coffee and refreshments and things like that. So that was really the logic behind collecting the fees, but there hasn't really been a whole lot of payout happening. So we're collecting these fees, and it seems to be kind of pointless. And then there was also, I think we've been just donating some or all of it to the conference. So our question for tomorrow to Zone 4 members will be, should we just stop collecting these fees? We've got to have a bank account, we've got to have signing officers, and we're going through the process of switching that all over. And we're going to figure out where to put the funds for now, tomorrow. But I just wanted the feedback from you folks to see if you would support us maybe just eliminating that fee.
Marty, is there thought to eliminating or just pausing it? Because at some point you're going to be back in person here, and you might want them again. So is it a pause or is it a complete like stoppage?
No, sorry, the elimination of the fee, because the fact that the actual zone members are not asking for reimbursement for the coffee and refreshments when they do happen. For example, when we hosted as Brant County, that was last year sometime, right, in the Brant County Sports Complex. I don't believe the county went and said, hey, Zone 4, can you please cut us a check for however much money to cover the cost of coffee and whatever. I think we went well beyond it anyways, because we had some pretty good refreshments, but that's what's happening. The actual members, when they're hosting, are not asking the Zone 4 treasurer for reimbursement.
Mayor Bailey, you had a comment?
I did. I think it's good that we keep collecting the money, no matter what we use it for. I think it's sort of looking ahead and positive to keep something going. It'll become a pot of money. We will meet again someday. And when we meet again someday, if we don't need it for coffee and donuts, we can use it for some sort of other, emergency funding like I've just asked for today. I think to close something down is a bit of a mind thought that it's going to never happen again, and you have to start from square one. So, and I know that we can afford it in the county to keep paying. I don't know. I don't like closing things down. It's like laying somebody off knowing you're going to try to hire them back. And what if they're not available? So what if people opt out to paying the money at another day when we have to ask them to start again? So my vote would be to keep paying, and we know that we have money as an organization. That's just my 2 cents worth.
I'm the same as Mayor Bailey. Marty, you could also use those, like you've donated to the conference, or there could be other educational opportunities. Gosh, we all know we need some, we all are interested in extra training or extra educational opportunities. Maybe there's something that Zone 4 can do in that regard as well, if there's surplus funds. But maybe it's an awareness thing. Maybe the different counties didn't realize they could submit for reimbursement. Everybody takes their turn, but I'm with Mayor Bailey that if you close things down, I know it's a pain to change signing officers and do all that kind of stuff, but if you close it down, it's really hard to start it back up again. Anybody else with any other additional 2 cents for Marty? There you go, Marty. Good luck.
I will go and suggest that Brant County would like to keep the coffee fund going. Thank you. That's all I have for Zone 4 update.
Okay, great. The Community Safety Wellbeing Plan meeting did go ahead in January virtually. Was our first one in, gosh, since we shut down meeting. So Inspector Anderson and I did attend that meeting. We did discuss the Solicitor General has now come out with revised timelines. We were given a pause originally. Now the new timelines to get that report in is July of this year, which is very short turnaround time to have paused it and then to have restarted it. I believe the committee has asked staff to look at options for an extension or something along those lines. There's concern about submitting a report that maybe is not as fulsome as what we originally intended it to be. Last year at this time, the committee was talking about a lot of different aspects of that community and safety wellbeing plan and what needed to be done to support it. And now just restarting it now and having to have that completed for July is worrisome. That being said, a year ago, we were talking about getting out and engaging the community, soliciting their feedback with a survey tool that Lori Brantford was going to be taking the lead on. That all got paused as well. And so now we've restarted that conversation with Lori Brandt. The survey tool itself has been ready for quite some time. It's going through ethics committees and approvals and whatnot, and they're hoping to have that out to the community in March. I'm not exactly sure what their recruitment process is to get participants, but they're looking at different people from different age groups different parts of the county, all different variables to be able to get a pretty fulsome feedback on people's perceptions about safety, well-being in the community. And I know staff are looking at other engagement tools as well to try and get some feedback from community stakeholders and some one-on-one conversations as well. That being said, our next meeting right now is not scheduled until we know more about the survey. There was a lot of discussion about the survey and there's no way we can eliminate the impact of COVID on people's perceptions at this point. So that survey may well be that piece. Inspector Anderson, was there anything else that I should include there?
No, Madam Chair, I think you've covered it all off. Maybe just an ask for my position, and Madam Chair, I'll leave this up to you, but just to bring it to council to just remind people that if they do get a phone call, and if it is a telephone call survey, that it is legitimate, and that what the purpose is, and trying to seek people's input as to what they believe are the aspects of community safety and well-being that the County of Brant needs to address in their plans. So that would just be an ask, I guess, from my side, so that the more people that know about it, the phone call won't be as much of a surprise, and we'll get more people partaking in the survey.
It's a good point. So work continues there. Councillor Pierce, I'm not sure if that provides you with an update, or if there's anything additional you wanted to follow up on there.
No, that's good. It's just like I say, I know it was paused for a while. I'm glad it's back in action. I'll call it like that. And to Inspector Anderson's point there, that's a very valid point. I'm just wondering if we could make use of our own media bursts to say, the county ones, that to say, hey, this is coming. So if you do get a phone call, to the inspector's point there, it is legitimate, please help us out type thing. Because I know that there's been, there seems to be a lot of those phone calls happening of late, and people are just, yeah, whatever, and hanging up. So I think that might be good information if we could get a community blast out there to say, hey, this is legit, help us out, we're looking for your input. Thank you.
Yeah, we can pass that on to staff that are coordinating that. Once we know more about the timelines, we'll let you know as well when the surveys are going out. But I haven't heard anything. Like I said, it's still winding its way through the university approval process and ethics committees and all the bureaucracy of that process. So, but that's a good point, Inspector Anderson, in terms of people. I just hung up on one while we were meeting here today. So there you go.
Somebody wanting your ducks cleaned.
That's right. Or my credit card is faulty. So in terms of an update, nothing additional to update on, but I just wanted to about a year ago, we talked about certificates of recognition to various people. And I know Mayor Bailey offered to also do a certificate once we knew those people on behalf of the county. We had a couple of folks that we were going to recognize for their volunteer efforts. Inspector Anderson had a number of staff members that had received some commendations through the OPP that we were going to recognize. Those have all sat. Nancy's developed a wonderful certificate on behalf of the Police Service Board. We haven't reached out to Mayor Bailey yet to get the corresponding certificates, because obviously we want them dated appropriately and everything. That all sat on pause, and I circled back with Nancy on that at some point here, and I guess I would just like to clear. We were hoping to do all these things in person, presenting those certificates in person, or acknowledging those people in person. And I just wonder if to some of the comments we've made today already, if the Police Service Board would be comfortable directing myself and Nancy and Inspector Anderson with completing that process and delivering them, even though they might not be in person, and celebrating them in person. That it's a year on now, and I just feel that they should be recognized however that suits best, and then move forward on that. Mayor Bailey?
How far along has that certificate developed, Nancy? Are the certificates finished?
They're ready to print.
Okay.
I have them drafted. They're just ready to print. Yeah.
And how many did you print, Nancy?
Roughly there's about a dozen, I would say.
Okay, the reason I'm,
Oh, you're on mute, Mayor Bailey.
the reason I'm asking, Madam Chair, is I have about 40 certificates sitting on my desk right now that I'm waiting for to sign out too. But I thought that a good idea, or something that might have worked, the one that you have for the police services people, could have two lines. It could have yours for the chair, and it could also have the mayor beneath it as a second signature. Therefore, when people like Ken Johnson do what Ken Johnson is just doing and retiring, or stepping away from a role, instead of having the two, one from the county, one from the city, it could be a police services certificate, also signed by the mayor and you. So I just thought if we had two lines on those, on some of them, maybe we could do 24 or something with both. It just seems more, even if we did a mayor on one side and chair on the other side, it seems more right to me for some reason. And it's not a duplication of paperwork and certificates and things like that. Now, the ones that I have on my desk now are obviously for 4-H and other things, so they wouldn't have two signatures. And not all the police services will have to do with the mayor. But I think things that do have to do with the county and the police services board, I think just by putting the two signature lines on the bottom of the certificate solves the problem.
Any comments or feedback on that? Councillor Pierce?
Yeah, I like that idea of having the both signatures on the same certificate. I think that makes sense. And as the mayor pointed out there, it wouldn't be for all of them, but just the ones that have the dual impact, so to speak. And as far as leaving it to yourself, Inspector, and that to get these rolling, I wholeheartedly agree with that. COVID has stopped enough. Let's these people are deserving of these awards, or else we wouldn't be talking about it. So let's get them done and get them out.
Mayor Bailey?
Yeah, so through you, Madam Chair. So things like people who do heroic things, or even those kids we gave the recognition to the other day for helping those people, things like that can be police services, but I gave those certificates. So it would have been nice to have your name on those certificates too, because it was sort of a policey thing to do, a sort of a good, safe thing to do. So I think we should have a box of mixed ones. And I think the mixed ones, some of them should have the police crest. Actually, we could probably do them both with the County of Brant crest and the police crest, as long as the OP are okay with having their crest appear with the town crest or whatever. I mean, those are things that Lisa can say yay or nay to. If Lisa says nay to them, we'll just put Police Services Board, which Lisa doesn't own those words. The OPP does, but Lisa and the OPP would have no problem with just, on behalf of the Brant County OPP and the County of Brant or something. I just think we could get it more efficiently, and they would then have two signatures from two people who they would be very proud of. So,
Mayor Bailey, are there times, I'm just asking because I don't know, are there certificates that you might do that just the County of Brant Mayor Bailey certificates that could also have been double duty as well? Like, I don't know what you might do certificates for, but is there things that you would also come to us and say, hey, these people, maybe these ones should be the double version, because we would only have what's in our queue, but you might have some in your queue as well?
Yeah, and the fact that I brought this up, I think it's really good. If I was a kid and I got a certificate signed by the mayor and the head of the police services, because in their mind, that's like the police chief or whoever the head of the police services is, I would be more impressed by having two signatures. And when you're young like that, it's all about the piece of paper. And I wouldn't want to have two pieces of paper if I thought one was much more important than the two. And I would be very aware in the mayor's office. I would tell Mandy, or I would ask Mandy too, to be very aware when things come through my office. Is it one that I sign, or should I send a copy to Jennifer? And I think that's a really good combination especially for kids that are excited to have anything. But things like Ken Johnson retiring, I mean, I'm just as happy. I'm just as pleased with everything Ken's ever done for the County of Brant as you are, as having him as a policeman. So that he would be the perfect first example of having both our names. Plus, he knows you very well. He knows me very well. Ken Johnson's the perfect example why it would work.
Any comments from the others on this process moving? I mean, okay, so we all agree that we're going to get the backlog of certificates cleaned up, however that looks, whether it's dual signatures or not, but we're going to get that backlog cleaned up, and Nancy and Inspector Anderson and myself can take care of that. How do we feel about this suggestion by Mayor Bailey? Is everybody good with that? Member Brown, Member Verhey? Okay, so I will take it then that you will delegate to Nancy, myself, and Inspector Anderson. Sorry, go ahead, Mayor Bailey.
No, I will, through you, Madam Chair. Lisa, we're not all going to end up in jail or anything by doing this, are we?
No, I think it's a great idea. Absolutely. We'd have no hesitation in adding our crest and our input on that. Yeah.
Right.
Our members appreciate all the thanks they get. So yeah, it's much.
Right.
They are brand new cells, Mr. Mayor.
Great suggestion. So Nancy and myself and Inspector Anderson will work on that rejigged version. It's timely, Mayor Bailey, because we didn't print them, but I know Nancy had prepared them so that we could go ahead with them. So we'll work with that to see if that works for you, Mayor Bailey, and then we'll coordinate the signatures and get that backlog printed and delivered and recognized appropriately. Mayor Bailey?
And Nancy, maybe you could get back to me and maybe we could have a Zoom call, you and myself and Mandy, to talk about how many numbers exist now and how many we would get. And we'll get them done maybe sooner than later, if that's okay, Nancy.
Oh, for sure. We'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that, I don't believe there's anything, unless Inspector Anderson, unless there's anything you wanted to raise, but I don't believe there's anything on the 2021 priorities item. It's just a standing item there that we have to review, but I don't believe there's anything, is there?
No, other than the updates that we gave already. So the action plan, I am anticipating that being a public document that I can bring to the Police Service Board. I'm being told March, so next month. That's good. And then the creation of our community safety and well-being team that will be running out of the detachment.
Great. Is there any detachment complaints or intimate personal matters to deal with today?
Madam Chair, nothing from my end.
Anybody else? Hearing none? Well, it is 10:20. And I think that sums up our meeting for today. Our next meeting at this point is electronic, again, virtual, March 16th until we're told otherwise. And like Mayor Bailey said, hoping that sunnier days are ahead for us and positive that we'll be able to get back together sooner rather than later in person to be able to see each other face to face. Anything else before we close? Well, go ahead, Councillor Pierce.
Nope.
Nope. Hopefully everybody is ready to shovel out their driveway and their sidewalks and everything else. So it's going to keep snowing today. Stay warm, stay safe, and stay healthy. And we'll see everybody, if not sooner, but on March 16th. Well,
have a great day.